All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nickolas Olm. You can call me Nick. I'm a manager research analyst senior in the Dean's Office for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I focus on enrollment planning and data analytics. The enrollment planning portion, I focus mostly on immersion enrollment. I do have a counterpart in the college that does the ASU online portion of enrollment. Today, I'll be doing quick tips and tricks how to use Report Builder to create user-friendly reports. So the focus is really how we can use SSRS to build reports that enable end users or make end users not have to do as much when they download the file into Excel or even a PDF. However they download it, you can do a lot in the SSRS end to minimize what your end users have to do on their end when they download the report file. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Brandy will be monitoring the chat for you. Okay, so first, dynamically highlighting rows in Report Builder. So this is a report that we use that has a list of current honor students in the college. And we like to highlight students that are listed multiple times in this report. So I also want to tell you guys that this is a video recording, but I am talking live, and you'll see multiple mouses or multiple mice because there's a recording and I also have my mouse on the screen as well. So this report, like I said, shows a list of the college current honor students. We have a calculated measure here in the SQL that counts students with more than one plan in the selected list of parameters. And those are the students we highlight. And I'll show you how we utilize that. So there's our count function that we use. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to highlight the row that you select the row you want to highlight. And you want to go to the properties and you will view the properties for that row. And you can see over here on the right, when you view the properties, the background color, we have an expression in that field. And that expression uses the switch expression. And so it will turn the entire row, whatever color you select, using that function. And it's based on that more than one value that we created in that calculated field. So and there's a list of colors you can select. So you can actually double click on the colors and it'll give you whatever color you want the row to be highlighted in. So there's lime green, there's red. You can even type in a color, but it does have to match one of the default colors that's in that panel right there. And for this report, we'll just select yellow. Okay, and so once that's done, we're going to want to view the report. Oh, and here is the row. This is the row we use, or the calculated column we use for our expression to highlight a row. So that's what that is in our table set. So we'll go ahead and view this report, see what it looks like. We'll select our parameters, skip ahead. And so based on the parameters we selected, you can see students with multiple plans in the selected parameters are highlighted. This is a group of multiple students, so that's why there's so many highlighted there. So that's how you would highlight students or highlight rows based on a dynamic expression. So your expression can be anything. It can be, you know, if you want to highlight students in a certain academic plan, you just use the expression to highlight students on whatever plan you select. Any questions on this? This report? Okay. So the next little tip I have is using our course enrollment by student type report. So this is going to show you how to do a page break for each tablex. So your tablex is going to be basically each table that you see here is a tablex. In this report, I have, I think, 4 or 5 different tablexes. I think that's how you do the plural. And for each of these, you're going to want to use the page break function, except for the first one. So the first tablex, you'll see in the properties section under page break here on the right-hand side. This first one doesn't have a break location because we don't need a page break on the first one. but every subsequent tablex, so I'm going to highlight the next tablex, will have a page break. So you go to your properties, page break, and then you'll see at the break location, it'll be at the start of that tablex. So the first tablex does not have a break location. Every subsequent tablex does have a break location. And we have it at the start of each tablex. So how that correlates into Excel is each of these, let me pause this real quick. Each of these tablex will be on its own page. So when you do a page break and download it into Excel, that'll make a separate tab for each page break. And you can see this tablex also has that break location of start. So we will go ahead and cancel out of this eventually. And we'll run this report. Okay. We'll select our parameters and fast forward real quick. And this is the report looks like. And so this report is shows a percentage of students based on what college they're in and enrolled in a certain class you can select. So this class I selected was Math 117. You can see the distribution of students, what college their majors in, and what percentage of those students are enrolled in each class. But I also have it by academic plan, new FYS, and a couple others. And you'll see when I download the Excel file what that looks like. So I'll go ahead and download the Excel file. And you can see each page break corresponds to a new tab on the Excel file. So you can separate each of your tablexes into separate tabs when you download it into Excel. You can see the different ways I have the distribution of enrollment in this course broken out. I do want to show you how to name those tabs as well. So I'll go back and I'll show you, you click on the tablex that you want to name and you go into the properties, and under page break, there's page name down here below, right there. So each page name you can type in a name or you can have an expression, and I'll show you in a report here coming up how to do a dynamic naming of an expression. So that's how you can name each page name. And so obviously each page name corresponds to a tab in Excel, and it'll name that tab for you. Okay, any questions on this little tip? So now this is a page break by a group. So this is a report that shows a list of students in selected student groups that you select in your parameters. So we'll go ahead and view this. So you can see at the bottom left in your row groups, student groups is your row group. So this is going to group each student by your, it's going to show groups of students by the student groups you selected up top. So depending on how many groups you select, they'll actually do a page break for each selected student group type. And to do that, you want to right click on the student group, view the properties, and then you'll find under that group selection on the right-hand side, you'll see the page break, and we have it selected as between. So that'll be between in each instance of a group. So if you have 5 tabs, it'll group each student group into 5 separate tabs, which I'll show you here in a second. And then to name the group, you could have an expression. So this expression will name the group, will name each tab based on what group is in that tab. So you want to do the student group value in this expression to name each tab. Okay, and so then we'll go ahead and run this report. We'll select our parameters, we'll fast forward. And so here's our list of groups. The student IDs and names are all blank because we don't want any identifiable information in there. That's why it looks like that. So we'll export this into Excel. And let's see. Oh, right, okay, sorry, I fast forwarded. So after you export it into Excel, you'll see at the bottom, each group has its own tab in here. So there's 4 different student groups, and then each student group is listed in each of its corresponding tabs. So that's how you do a group page break. Any questions on that one? Now we're going to dynamically hide rows. So this is a report we use to get a list of students who are enrolled in certain courses that don't currently meet the prereq requirements. And for this report, we have 4 different courses we're looking at: COM 408, 407, 308, and 207. And each of these has the expression dynamically hide each row. So for this report, usually when you make a table, you don't have one header. So what you want to do is insert another header above the default header, and then we'll create an expression to hide one or the other based on an expression that I'll show you here in a second. Oh, and I do want to show you this report actually utilizes a couple of things we spoke with before. So this has the tablix page break. So each of my tablixes in here does have a page break at the start of each location. And then I believe I also have a highlighted, I use a highlighted function as well to highlight certain students in this report as well. And yep, here's my expression just to highlight certain students who are below a certain GPA. So I also utilize that in this report. Okay, so to dynamically hide a row, you're going to want to select the row, right click, or click on it and view properties. Nope, sorry, right click and do row visibility. You can see I have an expression in the show or hide based on an expression value there. So this expression is going to count rows greater than 0. So if this expression is true, it's going to hide this row. So we want the row that says no records to be hidden if there's more than 0 records, obviously. So that'll be expression you use for that header. And then you want to go to your default header and you'll set a row visibility expression. But this one will be if the rows equal 0, then if that's true, then we don't want to hide that. So that's the expression you use for that row. So only one row will show at a time based on this expression. And then I'll show you what that looks like when we run the report. So we'll go ahead and run this report. Okay. So when you run this report, you can see that this tablix does have a couple students. So it is showing the enrolled course header. But then if we go to the next course, there's no records. So that header is being shown. So it's either showing one or the other based on how many rows are shown. And then each of the subsequent tablixes do have students in them. So it is going to show the default header. And then when we export this to Excel, you can kind of see what that looks like. Each of the tabs have its own name. And then you can see the different headers, how they correspond when you export it to Excel. Okay, any questions on this one? All right, last but not least, group by using the table wizard. So this is a report, how a report looks in Excel when you, a lot of our reports, when we export them, you get 1 row per student per course. So this is a list of students and what courses they've completed. And usually when you export a report, it's going to have multiple students listed based on each course they've taken. So you can see this student has 5 different courses they've taken. This is a select list of math courses that I've used. But sometimes we want to view this as 1 row per student, but view all the courses they've taken in 1 row. So we can group that in a grouping column, and you can group that so that each course is listed as its own column. So you're basically pivoting the data. Now we can do this in Report Builder using the table wizard. So I'll show you how to do that. So you're going to want to go to Table, Insert, Table Wizard, and then we're going to do the data set, the only data set we're using. And then we're going to go ahead and put all in the row groups. We're going to put all student data in there. And then in the column group, we will put all the course information. So actually, I want to look to click that. And it's important here, you will have to put an aggregate function, even though we're not going to aggregate this max course because it's a string function, but I'll show you how to fix that after we finish this tablets wizard. We don't want to expand or collapse groups, and we don't want to show subtotals or grand totals. So we'll finish this, and this is what your tablets looks like. You can see the sum of the max course here. We'll fix this, but I'll show you what will happen if you don't. So if you run this report and you don't take that sum out, it's going to give you an error because obviously you can't do a sum with a string function in SSRS. So you see all these errors in these fields for these columns. So what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll fix that. We'll just take out the sum and just put in the max course. And so when we do that, it's just going to give us the string value that we've calculated and put that into each corresponding row, and there won't be that error anymore. So you can see it shows the data we wanted to show for each column for each student. Now, it's in some situations, you will get an entirely blank column where there's no data. That's not showing in this situation, but I will show you the formula you want to use if you do see a blank column, which means of the selected courses you have, there are some students who haven't completed any of the courses you've selected. So you can hide that row that's entirely blank using this function I'll show you. So you're going to want to select that column group, and then you're going to want to go to the group properties and do a visibility expression. So if you go to the visibility, you're going to show or hide based on an expression. And then you're going to use, a little quick there. You're going to use this if is nothing. So if there's nothing in the column that is entirely blank, if that is true, then you're going to hide that column. So you'll use this column based on your value that you have in the column group. And when you run it, that column that is blank won't show up there anymore. Of course, this report didn't have that issue, but if you did have that issue, that blank column wouldn't show up anymore. I believe that is it. Those are all my tips and tricks for making user-friendly reports. Does anybody have any questions? I know I flew through that, but there's a lot I wanted to cover.
Thanks, Nick. Really great content.